Hi guys, this is the advisor and welcome back to my channel. Now, as the year draws to an end, I must say thank you guys for sticking with me for the entire year. And last year, thank you. And therefore, this coming up to the end of the year, I am putting out the two most profoundly powerful and enlightening videos I have ever put out on my channel. This is the first of a two-part series, and these two videos can change your life. And I seriously mean these two videos can open up your world, open up your eyes, loosen your brain, and let you become ultra powerful. I don't think that there is anybody who could ever watch these two videos to the very end and ever be the same. And these videos are teaching you how to take control of the most powerful thing you will ever own, your mind. Now, let me begin by saying that the most effective form of mind control is to program people to stop thinking for themselves. If you control a person's mind, you control their body. If you control their body, you can extend that control to their spouses, their children, and even extend that power out into the broader society. Point to note, if you extend that control to their children, you are extending that control over the next generation and the next and the next and the next into perpetuity. Now, that is what you call power. That is unbridled power. Now, for those of us who are savvy about what is going on in the world, you will know that this is why politicians and preachers will never feel comfortable around people who can think for themselves. Every individual that is capable of independent thought poses a threat because they diminish the power of those who want to control you. And here is why. If the majority of people that you want to take under your control are not agreeing with your message, then you have lost control, because there will not be enough people to enforce your dominance over the majority. A system of control can only be effective if the majority submit to whatever message the leader are sending. Throughout the entire history of mankind, that is how power has always worked. Exert dominance by brainwashing people into automatically submitting to the will of the dominant person or group. Because once you relinquish your mind, you relinquish your individuality. You are merely an extension of the person or organization that controls your mind. In other words, I would go as far as to say you have given up being human, because one of the things that distinguishes humans from other animals is our ability to reason as individuals. But, and some of you might be hearing this for the very first time in your life, the power that you have, the greatest power one could ever have, is the power of independent thought. The power of having a free mind. That power was born within you just as much as it was born within those who are trying to lead you. And you are as free to use it against them to the same extent as they are using it against you. The minute you take control of your mind, you remove the control that anyone has over you. You become the equal of that force that once controlled you. Nobody has ever taken control of someone's mind without their consent. Now, if you want to take control of yourself, of your life, it begins with taking control of the raw power of your thought. It begins with taking control of the most powerful thing you will ever own. That is your brain. This power is so strong, so formidable, so much under your control that it is impossible for anybody to take it from you. It has to be voluntarily given up. And it is so much yours that it is impossible for it to be retained by anyone, even after you give it over. In other words, if you want to take it back, you can do so in an instant, just like that. All you have to do is to start thinking for yourself. So, how does one think for themselves? The first thing in thinking for yourself is to not be credulous. In other words, just because somebody tell you something, do not accept it as gospel. Accept nothing as gospel or as facts that anybody say to you. Some wise philosopher once said that the cultivation of doubt is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, you cannot be wise until you question everything that is presented to you. You begin by having an inquiring and inquisitive mind. For everything that you're told, you need to ask certain questions. Questions like, for example, is that really true? Where is the evidence? Can it be tested, or has it been tested before? And what was the results of those tests? Is there any alternative explanation for what you have concluded? Is there any better way of doing it or of looking at it? Only by asking such questions can you ever really get to the truth. But sadly, asking questions and seeking the truth is the most insurmountable task for someone who has already given up control of their lives to someone else. Because while you can take back control of that power, the programming has within itself a fail-safe mechanism that instills in you an overwhelming urge to not think outside the box. It is extremely difficult to even consider looking outwards. For this reason, only the strongest among us will ever find the strength to take back control of themselves, thereby breaking the cycle of self-imposed oppression. So, having said all that, now I'm going to explain why we as Africans remain, for the most part, powerless for many, many hundreds of years. And you know the irony of all this is that in a moment, in the next few moments, half of you who have stayed up to this point will switch to something else or tune off away from this channel, because the fail-safe mechanism in your brain will be triggered by this specific stimulus beginning now. And it begins when I say this. The main reason for the downfall of the black race is primarily this book. Yes, the Bible. It is the Bible that causes Africa and Africans to be the poorest, depressing, disease-ridden, poverty-stricken, morally decadent, ignorant, and backward race in the world. Well, now that we have gotten that out of the way, whoever is going to tune out will have tuned out. So for those strong enough or brave enough or curious enough to hear what I have to say beyond this point, let us continue. This was not the video for them. The fact that they left proves my point. One has to have made a conscious decision to either take back their power or to let it remain in the hands of those who wield their own power against them. The people who left the video moments ago could not have been helped. They are too far gone. But for those who remain, this is where your life will begin to change. Now, here are the ways that Caucasian people keep the black race under their boots. And as I said before, it is by taking control of your mind. But what are the specifics of that level of programming? It begins with the media, television, radio, cinema, newspapers, billboards, But for the most part, these forms of mind control do not target the black man. They target the black woman. The fact is, women are weak. Nowadays, it is considered chauvinistic to state that fact. But since it is an indisputable fact, I have absolutely no problem saying it. When you want to keep down a race, you start with the weak agenda and you weaken them, and they will pass on that weakness to the men. Europeans know that women are self-conscious about their bodies and their looks. And unlike men whose values and self-worth comes from within, a woman's values and self-worth is fed into her brain by how others perceive her. If others perceive her as beautiful, she will consider herself as such. The same if she feels that others consider her as ugly or in any other way substandard. Knowing this, those people of European stock always target her in order to use her as the catalyst to bring down her race. Take for example, look at this picture. A black woman does this to herself. But why does she do it? She does it because she has been programmed to perceive herself as being totally deficient as a person. But this can only happen when you have relinquished your ability to think. It gives you a twisted perception of yourself and it robs you of the ability to love yourself or to value yourself, and by extension value your race. In my estimate, and this is not something I learned in any sociology class, but as far as I'm concerned, 3 main pillars of power. Once you harness these 3, you are ultimately powerful. The first pillar of power is knowledge. We have always heard the saying, knowledge is power. Now that is an incontestable fact. People withhold knowledge from you and preventing you from wanting to seek knowledge, they are ultimately powerful and will always have power over you. So, by controlling your thoughts, they control the knowledge that you will even want, that you will not even want to learn about yourself. So, they will control what knowledge they want you to know in order to keep power away from you. But what is the second pillar of power? It's money. Money. It has been said that money is power. Everybody knows that. It is true. So, if I can program your mind to willingly give me your hard-earned money throughout your entire life, instead of trying to pass it down to your offspring to create generational wealth, I program you to hate yourself enough to bring your money and give to me. How will you ever have power? You will never ever see power. You will never be able to become as powerful as I am. You as a race will always be weak. Well, the third pillar of power is really fear. F-E-A-R. But I won't get into that now because it is not really relevant to this current video. So let us move on to look at some of the things that you spend money on, that we as black people nourish and cherish and value and spend money on. Look at these brands. You see all these brands here? These are what black people aspire to earn money, to spend on, to impress themselves. I try to impress other black people. Because they're not impressing no white man by wearing any of these brands. And as far as I'm concerned, it is a special kind of self-hatred when you have to wear people's name on your clothes in order to seek validation. It is a clear sign that you think they are superior to you, that you need them to validate your status. To say, look, I rock because I've got the stamp of approval from Tommy Hilfiger or whoever it is, as the case may be. One of the most pathetic things about black history that we should never forget is that back in the 80s and 90s, black thugs were known to rob or even kill their fellow blacks in the ghetto. just for their Nike sneakers. They would hold you up and rob you. You can get stabbed or shot if you resist, because what they wanted, the sneakers that another black man is wearing, because it is a status symbol. And to add to this pathetic situation, the person that they're robbing, he took 2 weeks pay or 3 weeks pay and starved himself to get the one pair of shoes to put on his foot to wear. Now, you see how these people value things? It is because of our programming. We have been programmed by the white man to value certain things that can let them take away our money and even kill or destroy ourselves and our families and our fellow blacks. Just like that. Because that is what we have been told to value. And over the years, we have watched CNN, or NBC, or CBS, and we have seen where black men, dozens of them, line up overnight at a store, at a shoe store, to be the first to buy another new expensive pair of Jordans or Nike or something that is coming out on X date, and they line up to buy it overnight and spend tons of cash on it. And when they get the shoes, what do? They wear it a dozen or 2 times just to show off amongst their friends that they can, and be showing how much money they can spend to get a pair of shoes, and that this is the latest. And then after that, the novelty wears off, they throw it under the bed, on top of the other dozen that they had already brought before and haven't even been wearing. Now, if this isn't a special kind of retardation among black people, I don't know what is. And guys, one of the most brutal truths you will ever hear that you have never heard from anywhere else is this. Back in 1970, Sophia Loren and Elizabeth Taylor, some of you might have heard of these former beautiful superstars. Now, they were on an interview with CBS television back in 1970. And they were asked about their expensive clothes and their expensive handbags. I think one of the important things was their expensive handbags. And they were talking about how many they owned and how they acquired them. Sophia Loren, she said, I've never bought one of these bags. They're given to us for free. They're given to us so we can wear them wherever we go. And then Elizabeth Taylor said, yes, and we're paid good money for just walking around with these styles and these fashions. So, you see that? What this is saying, rich people or famous people do not take their money and buy brand names. It's given to them for free. Not only given to them for free, but they are paid to muddle around with these expensive stuff. Why? To catch you, the gullible fool. You can say, oh, that superstar has it, so I want one, so I can get validation for myself, so I can look important. Rich people already don't need no validation by wearing nobody's name, and if they're not getting money, they would never go and purchase them. It's all done to rob you, and you don't even see it. But now, let us look at the other side. Let us take Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, as we know, is that billionaire, the one who bring Apple for iPhones and so on to us. And Steve Jobs have told us that he owns only 2 pairs of sneakers. And he said that one pair of that sneakers, he have had it for 3 years because it is still in wearing condition. So he's not throwing it away. Mark Zuckerberg, another millionaire, he says that he owns 2 pairs of sneakers, 2 pairs. And he says one of them is a Fila, which he prefers, and he didn't even state the other brand because he say it's really a non-brand. He doesn't want to say. These are billionaires, and they know what to value. You know what they spend their money on? Property, land, real estate. They invest in gold, platinum, titanium, silver, the rare metals and precious metals. What do black men invest in? Nothing. Brand names, people name to put on themselves. Now, when you do that, how can you consider yourself as being powerful? How can you ever be powerful? And now look at the ladies. Look at how they look. False nails, false hair, false eyelashes, false eyebrow, and false skin color. These statistics are kind of staggering. But would you believe it that on hair alone for black women, hair, just false hair alone, black women worldwide spend 2.9 billion, that's billion with a B, that's $2,900 million annually on false hair, just hair alone. So if these women were taught to love themselves, and instead of spending it on hair, we're spending it on real estate, on platinum, and gold, and investing in stocks and shares, debentures, and so on. You know how powerful we would have been as a race? Now, I don't even want to go into the bleaching cream and the other stuff that they use to turn themselves in a monkey. But I assume it would triple the number, the 2.5 billion. Sorry, I mean 2.9 billion. We would be looking at around $9,000 million that black women are spent to titivate up just from the neck up, to look false, to look like somebody else, or to look like you belong to another race. That is self-hatred. And very few people, very few blacks own a retail store that sell these ears. These stores are owned by people of other races, mostly Indians, Koreans, Pakistanis, and Bangladeshis. And if you try to get into the business, the distributors will not sell you stocks wholesale so that you can sell retail to your own black people. So they capture your mind and teach you to hate yourself, then sell you the products that makes you feel acceptable to yourself, then take your money and invest it in the things that really matters. As long as you hate yourself, we will always make money off you. That is how they think. In other words, we want your money, we don't, but so don't try getting into the industry. Just your money, please. Now guys, I'm going to end this video here, but I'm going into part 2, which goes into the depth of how these people rob you and how you need to take control of your mind in order to take control of your life, in order to make yourself more powerful, because there's much more powerful things at work. Guys, thanks for listening. Like, share, leave a comment below, and I look forward to see you in part 2 coming up next.